All right, welcome to episode 55 of the Brew Crew Scoop, and just want to start off by saying the Brewers are finally back over 500. Desperately needed that. Things were looking glum after that 4-day series in Pittsburgh, where we talked about we needed them to win 3 out of 4. They did not, but they saved it on Sunday. They were able to get a series split. Um, they lost the Skeens game as anticipated, but it wasn't really because of Skeens. It was more so just too little, too late, and some disappointing extra innings. Came back home Memorial Day, Dollar Hot Dog Day. Took care of the Red Sox 5-1. It was like a sellout or basically a sellout.
Yep.
Um, and then last night, Tuesday, Christian Yelich. I should shout out South Frelick first. Boston kid tied it with an RBI single off a Aroldis Chapman in the ninth to send it to the 10th. And then Christian Yelich first career walk-off homer. Only needed one of the 4 runs, but walk-off grand slam. Pretty cool to see Yelly. Not to mention he had a 2-homer game in Pittsburgh. So over his last 6 games, he's been really hot. 3 homers. I think 8 runs driven in. Admittedly, the day game I was working today, so I don't know if he added to that. I was just watching the box score a little, but I did catch the end of the game after I made it home from the office, and Brewers took care of the Red Sox again in the 10th. Christian Campbell kind of gifted the Brewers a run to tie it in the bottom of the 10th after they let in the Manfred runner in the top, and then it was Caleb Durbin who got the job done, who I did see have 2 doubles earlier in the game as well, on top of his walk-off sac fly. So pretty cool for the rookie. Brewers have won 4 in a row, so 5-2 since we last talked. Back 1 game over 500.
Yeah. I think we were a little worried about how we got it done or how we were trending into this series, but $1 hot dogs got it done, got the city out, and if you were able to watch some of that game and not spend the whole game in one of them glizzy lines, you saw a good one. I was at the game and I was a little concerned about the lineup against Crochet, but um, we started off hot with a walk-off shot and ended up getting it done. So, good series, a lot of close games, and honestly, the especially today and the events of the last 2 days. And then I was listening to a favorite podcast of ours, and Baseball is Dead, and I heard Jared like declare the Red Sox season over. And if the last 2 games went kind of the opposite ways, I think we might have been saying the same thing about the Brewers, but they were able to pull out some close ones, and got it done. So, huge turn of events for the crew over the last few days. But definitely cannot complain after that series. And I also would like to say, for once, I'm thankful to be a Brewers fan here rather than the Orioles had all the hype going into this year. And I mean, I don't think anyone thought the Pirates would really be great, but they do have maybe the best player in baseball or second best player in baseball. And the Red Sox had a lot of hype going into this year too. And we are trending better than all those teams right now. So happy at the end of the last 3 series here, even though it kind of developed a little differently than we might have guessed.
Yeah, I believe first sweep of the year, and also I believe the Sunday win against the Pirates was the first comeback win after being down after the seventh. So turned a couple corners there, and despite what has been a quote unquote awful start for a recent Brewers team, they're back over 500, and um, the Cubs are still really good and still hot, but we're only, let me check now. I believe like 6 games back, which you could argue is a lot already at the end of May. But considering how bad it seems our season has started and how good everything has gone for the Cubs for the most part, other than losing Justin Steele and maybe the back end of their bullpen, to be only 6 back, I'll take that at this point. And the NL wild card seems to be kind of wide open. Maybe wide open is the wrong term. A lot of teams in that middling group. So I guess before we talk the rest of the standings or our regular segments, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but people saying Pat Murphy doing a little bit, relying too much on the main guys, Nick Mears, Abby Uribe, McGill, and kind of commenting that he's going to lay off and then not laying off. And I guess I have two things that I'll say before I let you answers. My first thing is, um, one, I think a lot of it depends on how guys say they feel, and if guys feel fine, obviously you don't know long term yet, but if they feel fine, I kind of am okay with it. But you can't use your A bullpen every day. I think the problem is that in recent years we've been able to get away with not using your A bullpen every day. But now it's just like anytime we're in a close game, it seems like we need to win that game because so many things have been going bad. So that's my take to start. But curious to hear what you think about Pat Murphy, and I'm definitely not on the Fire Murphy crew right now.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he was just coming off. I think Mears specifically said something about not using him as much, and then over pitched him, in my opinion, today. So I definitely think there is a little sense of urgency in every game, like you were talking about there. And hopefully we can clean up some of the other parts of our game, like defense and some more timely hitting, or at least guys can start doing what they're capable of. And I think that'll help things. But yeah, I agree. I think another piece though is that we're finally getting some valuable pieces back with Ashby and Hall. I think Koenig was another example of someone that it seemed like he was kind of over relying on recently, but that's because he's that lefty arm that we wanted to call on for specific matchups. And now we have two more guys that I think we should be just about as comfortable with. I think Ashby probably still has to win over Brewers fans a little bit, but in Hall's career as a reliever, he's been pretty good. So I think that's a big piece. Um, but yeah, I would hope maybe that some of these games are a little closer, but I will say, or not a little less close.
Yeah, right.
But I will say, I think today we saw another example of it, and that's our starters just are not taking distance. So whether you're using your A guys or not, some of these games, it's not even a matter of A guys. It's like we literally just need somebody.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's another piece. Freddie kind of manned up and went into another inning. I think he already had like 95 pitches when he went out for his last inning. So great, but I wish he was doing that in like the seventh inning and not the fifth. So
Yep.
um, yeah, it's I don't want to fully blame Murph or anything there. It's definitely a team effort getting to that point, but yeah, it's not something we can sustain, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely he's gone back on what he's saying, lay off on guys from time to time. But to your point, getting those long guys back is probably something that they're not saying, but they kind of have in mind where we can use some of these guys early. And I had said, like, just start piggybacking guys because like I said, all right, well, guys aren't going to go deep in games. And then some people replied on Twitter and said, well, we don't let them go a third time through the lineup. But it's not like we're rolling out all-star starting pitchers. Like, yeah, sometimes there may have been a quick hook, but frankly, I don't like we're getting the best we can out of Quinn Priester right now and probably Chad Patrick too. Let's not push our luck with those types of guys, in my opinion. Sometimes, obviously, you can't just keep working your bullpen, but to
Yeah,
add
I think
on
it
to
depends on the game, but yeah, I think there were
right.
some places in the um last whatever week that you could have probably let the starter go another couple, but we have been unfortunately in a lot of close games, but I think that's also kind of how this team's built. So we'll have to get over it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't mind seeing some of that piggyback stuff. I am one of the fans that needs to be won over by Aaron Ashby, but I am excited to see Deal Hall. Um, anyways, standings. Six back of the Cubs. Phillies and Dodgers have small leads in the other NL divisions. Yankees and Tigers have big leads in their divisions in the AL, and the Mariners have a one-game lead over the Astros. Looking at the National League wild card, Mets, Padres, and Cardinals are holding spots. Half game back of the Cardinals are the Giants, and we are three back of the Cardinals. So right there in it. Um, who was your hot hitter of the week for the Brewers?
Oh, stop jumping on fire, Ricky Bobby. I'm on fire. He's so hot right now.
You already talked about him, but it's going to be Christian Yelich. You talked about his home runs. I believe he had 7 runs as well since we last talked. 8 RBI, 3 walks, a couple bags he swiped as well, and he was getting it done up top. But I will give the honorable mention shout to Caleb Durbin. He's had a nice little stretch in the last couple of days, and obviously today, 3 RBI in this game was huge. But those two is who I'll shout out, and then if Isaac Collins would have had a little bit better day, he actually would have got a shout. But in general, I just want to give him a shout out because he's definitely a guy that heading into spring before injuries and all that popped up, I don't think anyone was anticipating counting on him. And he's been a top half of the lineup guy for a lot of games this year. And he's produced at a level well enough. He's played a good enough defense. I know he had a nice grab yesterday. So just wanted to give him a general shout. But yeah, I'm going with Christian Yelich, which is good to finally say.
Absolutely. Yeah, he just looked so good last year that I'm really hoping that the slow start was just him knocking off the rust and he's gonna be first half 2024 Yelly again here soon. So really encouraging to see. And I don't think you said it. Sorry, I was looking down at my notes, but Sal Frelick, did you give him a little shout out? I just wanted to give Sal
I
all
didn't,
around
but I
shout
know
out.
you did when
Mhm.
describing the events yesterday. But yeah, he's been great, and I was actually just kind of looking at his slash line too, and he's a guy where yeah, his slash line's probably not gonna jump out at you necessarily, but he seems like he'll be able to float around that right above league average batter for his whole career, just with his approach and stuff like that. So that plus the glove, which we don't specifically shout out in this show, but he threw well. I don't want to give him full credit for it, throwing someone out today because it was a bad base running mistake by Rafaela running to third while someone was already on third. But yesterday he had a super nice assist from the outfield as well. So um, yeah, he's definitely a multi-tool guy that brings value everywhere, whether it's running at the plate in some aspects or obviously with his glove.
Was definitely gonna say that he's been one of the few guys that seemingly has held up the 2024 Brewers team defense that hasn't really carried over otherwise. But all right, I'm gonna read this real time. I just saw the tweet come up from Jack Stern. I don't even know what this says, but I kind of skimmed it. When asked about using Nick Mears for 2 innings, Pat Murphy suggested it was part of the plan he, Ricky Weeks, and the pitching coaches drew up for today, including bringing him in when the Brewers were trailing. We sit down before every game and we map out what we like to have happen. Dot dot dot. So it's exactly how they mapped it out. Anyways, that was relevant to what we were just talking about. But
Yeah.
who was your untouchable pitcher of the week for the Brewers?
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
Yeah, so I was waiting to update today's live stats and then we went early, but I personally saw Chad Patrick start and he looked super solid. Matched up against one of the best pitchers in the league, so I'll give him a shout. And then Quinn Priester actually had a really nice outing in his last start. So I think those two guys, and then I don't know from the pen. I think the Cowboy struggled a little bit before today, and then he got it done today. In classic Abner Uribe fashion, where you're kind of nervous the whole outing, but it always ends up, not always, generally ends up being okay. So I don't know what other guys statistically though in the pen really got it done this week. I know McGill didn't really have any giant issues, so that's good. Grant Anderson actually, I know was one guy that stepped up real well. And honestly, last night Zastrizny pitched super well, so I'll give him the shout too.
Yep. Yep. He had gotten dry humped a few times
Yep,
uh,
figured
prior
you'd
to
mention
that, to
that.
quote the manager.
Yep.
That was funny. But actually, I listened to this morning. Thanasis Antetokounmpo has a podcast, and I don't.
Yeah, I saw that, but I think it said it dropped yesterday, but then I didn't see it yet, and then I didn't get
Yeah.
back to it yet. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, I listened. It was really good. It's kind of funny because just Thanasis not being from here, he definitely
Yeah,
doesn't know any of the old players that Murphy was talking about. Um, but it was a really good listen. So definitely go check that out.
sweet.
Um, around the farm. I'll let you go first.
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids. If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
All right, I will first shout out Luis Lara. He has been very solid over the last 18 games. I think he started off a little slow, but he has a 917 OPS, six doubles, 11 walks, 10 Ks, and he also flashes the leather. A little bit of a little Sal Frelick Jr., I guess I'd say. But then I know also, I think he's currently in Biloxi, so also down there, their rotation's been super strong. And Will Childers, who's kind of been a name we've mentioned over the last 2 years, he's been super solid in the pen. So excited to talk to Javik eventually about that lineup because they've had some exciting stuff going on. Actually think yesterday they also had a walk-off, right?
That was
Or
the
was that
T-Rat.
T-Rats? T-Rats?
Yeah, Blake Burke.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And then Hedbert Perez was the Midwest Player of the Week last week with two dingers and a 1.251 OPS. Um, Filippo Dituri has been really solid over the last 2 weeks. He's a 19-year-old shortstop for us in Carolina. He's got 3 home runs, 4 doubles, and a 1.2 OPS in the last 12 games. So love to see that out of a young shortstop. Tyson Harden with the T-Rats in his last 4 starts has 26 innings pitched and only given up 4 earned, 0 walks, and 28 Ks. So that along with some of the other young prospects we have. I know Bishop Ledson's been lighting it up also with the T-Rats. I think he has a like just above 1 ERA. And then Bryce, is it McCaj? That's how we pronounce it, right?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was Message.
Message. That
Yeah,
that sounds a lot
but
better.
that's a good point.
It
I
probably
guess
is
like
Message.
mostly in my head.
But he's got a 1.61 ERA and 22.1 innings with the Mudcats. So we got a lot of young arms really lighting it up. And a couple of these names I've seen on various like prospect monitoring and rate ranking Twitters. So good to see. Dingis's first home run with the T-Rats was 111 off the bat. So um, he started off hot. I think he's cooled down a little bit with his adjustment up in Appleton, but I don't think he'll have a problem settling in. He's been a great surprise. Um, and then the last prospect I want to shout out, I think, is one that could maybe lead into a conversation here. But Freddie Zamora has actually been really good with Nashville this year. He's got a 418 on base percentage, um, and he's a plus runner, solid defender. I think earlier in his career he had some kind of lack of focus type mistakes, but I'd like to think those wouldn't be there in the big leagues. I think he'd be locked in. But finally putting together a solid season at a higher level in the minors. But he's an older prospect, I think, at this
I was
point.
gonna
And
say, I feel like he's been a top prospect for a long time.
yeah, no, he's older now, and I think he kind of faded because he had iffy years in Double A and his first year in Triple A. But this year he's been really solid. So I think it's just good to see. I think Ortiz has had some better at bats recently too. But if we felt the need, um, I'm not sure we'd be losing a ton from what Joey was doing for the few weeks where he was
Hmm.
struggling real bad to at least giving Freddie a shot. I don't think there's much to lose there at this point in his career. So I just wanted to give him a shout out because, yeah, like you said, he was a name that we had heard as a top prospect in the past. Kind of faded, but he's putting together a nice season in Nashville. So
Yeah,
there are some prospects.
the thing with Ortiz is, I mean, I was all for giving him a little reset. I just feel like his at bats and contact is starting to look a tiny bit
No,
better.
it
Maybe
definitely is.
just this
Yeah.
last week.
Yep.
So now I would kind of say I would kind of be. I mean, I wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'd kind of be against it just for right now until we
Yeah,
start to
yeah,
see it slump
definitely.
off.
Just
But yeah,
more of
that
a safety valve down there if we
yep,
felt the need. But honestly, I mean, even Monasterio's been
yeah.
he's been exactly what he's always been, which is
Hmm.
at least okay. But not to say any three of these guys are gonna dramatically fill the hole, but they're definitely a better value than Willie Adames has been for the Giants, which I do
Yep,
hate to say because obviously we all love Willie, but
yep. He's struggling. Um, so kind of injury report, but kind of ties into the discussion
yep,
about my around the farm. So Quintana's due back likely this weekend, and then Woodruff just had a good start
yep,
in single A today, where he went 7 innings. So he's due back what Adam McCalvy's kind of hinting at maybe in a week and a half.
yeah, they
So
said probably another Nashville start.
kind of leads me into one. Jacob Mizorowski has a sub 1 ERA and 50 strikeouts over his last 37 and 2/3. So at some point you'd think he'd force the hand, but the long relief slash starting pitching is about to be at more than full strength. Savali looked decent the other day. Um, not the type of like good enough that you give him another turn for sure. Even with the embarrassment of riches we seem to have. But hot topic of discussion this week is Logan Henderson, the rookie who came up. gave four really good starts, one in the first stint, and then came back and gave three more. He was optioned, and it sounded like it was between him and Priester only has one option left, so they didn't want to burn it, and it's just how kind of how the business goes. But you had mentioned maybe we see a Quintana or Savali or someone along those lines get traded possibly.
Yeah, I think I actually was just thinking about it again today because I think I saw after Kyle Gibson got cut after being brutal with the O's, I think he signed a deal with the Rays or something. And just the fact that there's a market for a guy like that right now
Mhm.
shows that there's got to be a market for some of these guys. And yeah, I think the Henderson thing honestly makes sense. It is what it is, but and you hate to see it, but the situation we're in and the type of program we run, and I mean the other thing too is some service time probably benefits us too to put them down. But yeah, between Savali, Quintana, um, we have yet to see what Woody is going to do once he's back up. I know, like you said, he had a nice start today. He went seven, 5 hits, 0 earned, 0 walks, 6 Ks. But I wasn't able to find any velocity info there. But hopefully he's able to get a couple miles an hour back and at least be only 1 or 2 below his prior average, not 5 or 6 below. But he's been effective anyways, at least in his rehab stint. So, and obviously you'd hate to see Woody get dealt. So, um, but between whether it's maybe Savali again, like we said, or Quintana, um, or even some of the younger guys, right? You never want to give up on someone or even sell high or whatever. But, and I'm not saying we would, but a Chad Patrick, Henderson, a Tobias Myers, Carlos F. Rodriguez, we just saw have a really unusual outing. The fact that he was up, sat through a rain delay, and came back in and 8 super valuable innings for this team. One of the best mediocre looking starts on paper I've seen
Hmm.
for the club. So we got all those guys. That there's just not enough space for right now. And then when you consider thinking long term, next year Gasser comes back, and even later this year Nestor comes back, but he's not healthy currently to possibly deal. And we still seem to believe in Elvin Rodriguez. I'm not sure to what degree, but yeah, there's a ton of guys. And even depending on how the next couple weeks go, I know Freddie's got another couple years of control, but he'd really drive a pretty uh, steep price. But I don't think knowing how the Brewers operate, anyone would be off limits, right? But yeah,
Hmm.
I definitely think if we're able to actually get some of this health back and um, we get past probably the Super 2 manipulation scenario. Um, I would not hate seeing a rotation with Miz, Henderson, I guess Patrick, Peralta, maybe Woody. Later on in the year, Nestor, Tobias Myers, if he's able to find it again, Quinn Priester, like those are all names, and I didn't even mention Quintana Cervali. So, um, yeah, I think it'd be silly not to have our ears open. There's some pretty starter needy teams out there, including the Red Sox, which is kind of funny because they obviously gave us Priester, but they've had some difficulties with their rotation too. So lots of
Hmm.
teams.
Yeah, curious to see what they'll do. Because yeah, there's a lot of guys that you'd like to see in that rotation right now, and like you could argue Henderson and Mizorowski may be more promising than Priester and Chad Patrick, but based on the way options go and the way that Patrick and Priester have pitched this year, it's like why take them out of the rotation, honestly.
Yeah.
You can make more of a case for Priester, but Chad Patrick is just come out of nowhere to just
Hmm.
keep just eating innings at like a 3.5 ERA. So really cool. And yeah, we'll see. Um, you got anything else Brewers related for us today?
Um, I don't think so. I think we hit on the main stuff I wanted to talk about actually. Yeah, finally feels like a successful big series after the last couple weeks of being down in the dumps. Oh, we did lose or I actually don't think anyone
Yeah,
acquired Pioms yet, but
yeah, DFA'd.
yeah.
Um, All right, beer of the week.
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
Stop by Broken Bat Brewing, like I do once every couple months, this weekend, and just a wit outside Belgian wit beer from Broken Bat is our choice. I've actually had that one before. So, final thoughts.
$2 brat days. Let's do it. Come on.
Oh,
Come
I like it.
on.
Nice.
There's probably an issue though, like the hot dogs that are like already cooked and they just kind of like roll them around and like hot dogs, you can eat them raw.
Mm,
I've actually seen my friend Ryan eat there's a video of him
mm.
eating them raw. But anyways, can't really just roll brats around food safety wise. So maybe that's part of it. The logistics. It was kind of funny. Like there were just people zooming around with carts with buns and trays full of glizzies the other day. So maybe
Just
that has
sending in
something to do with it.
reinforcements.
Yeah.
I saw the panic one year when they didn't have the three hot dog limit or whatever.
It was six
So
dog limit.
people were freaking out. Oh, that's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Three is ridiculous. I could eat three on the walk back to my seat.
Yeah.
My main final thought was quote here from, I guess it's from the Nightingale article, but anyways, Sean Spradling tweeted, Team USA officials are getting flooded with requests from players and their agents to play in the 2026 World Baseball Classic. The biggest problem won't be getting the star players, rather which players will be left off the roster. I hope that's true because in years past, the roster and specifically the pitching has been
hmm
pretty weak. So I know Skeens and Judge are in, and hopefully they can kind of lead the charge there and get more people. But that'd be awesome to see a loaded Team USA team, something we've never seen before, honestly. So
Yeah. I know we were fortunate enough to see Devin Williams, but I'm not sure he's currently projected to make that roster at his current rate, but we'll see.
yeah, what a fall off! I can't believe that, honestly. I mean,
He actually did have a
think
ton
he'd be
of
untouchable
outings.
forever, but.
Yeah, he did have like six or something straight clean outings, but then they put him back in the ninth and unlucky. I don't know, it's weird. Stuff still looks
That's
good, but
yeah, very strange. Very strange. Um, all right, yeah, I mean that's all I got.
yeah, we got to keep rolling. And whenever they finally announce Woody's hopeful eventual start, hopefully we can get a good turnout, even if it's not a weekend game,
Yep.
and give him a standing out because he's definitely one of the good guys. And he's an all-time Brewers great, even though he's done it pretty quietly for as good as he's been. But yeah, I think some support for him and whatever. The velocity thing, hopefully, is not the end of the world. It's not like Quintana or some of those guys pump, mid to high 90s. So we'll see.
All right, go Brewers.
Go Brewers.